Mr. Rajat Gupta, who is the co-founder and current CEO of TESSOL, focused on building a viable and sustainable culture with strong inclination towards technology and product development. Mr. Rajat is the mastermind behind TESSOL's proprietary technology and is its chief innovator. He brings in a deep understanding of product design, technology commercialization, and market entry strategy, and has been instrumental in leading the organization from its inception to date. Coming with an engineering background, he is an MBA from Harvard Business School. Mr. Rajat is the first generation entrepreneur and worked with several early stage startups, multinationals, and venture funds across India, Europe, and the US. Today, Mr. Rajat will talk about the passive cooled solutions for last mile logistics. So, delegates, let's welcome Mr. Rajat.
A 2019 report on the state of food and agriculture, it is broadly estimated that globally, 1/3 of world's food is lost or wasted every year. Reducing food wastage at any stage of the food supply and distribution chain can contribute to reducing land and water use, together with greenhouse gas emissions. Under the 2018 Innovation Challenge conducted by FLCTD project, TESSOL was selected as one of the winners in the space conditioning category.
Food supply chain, especially the distribution of perishables, has been a huge challenge in India. The fragmented nature of retail and the use of conventional technology not only makes it very expensive but also highly energy intensive. Thermal energy storage technology, which TESSOL is commercializing, is a unique opportunity for us to make the supply chain not only environmentally sustainable but also economically viable.
TESSOL was founded in 2013 with an objective to bring innovative solutions to the cold chain sector in India. TESSOL has an innovative application of thermal energy storage battery swap for food cold chain. Central to TESSOL's innovative solutions are the thermal storage units using phase change materials or PCMs. Here, cartridges with PCMs act as thermal batteries which are charged using refrigeration systems. A compartmentalized mobile unit of less than 1 ton capacity offers transport of several smaller containers to carry diverse items that have different cooling requirements. They can maintain temperatures in reefer vehicles for 8 to 10 hours. Depending on the product, cooling is offered from -25 degrees Celsius to +20 degrees Celsius. After each 8-hour delivery cycle, freshly charged PCM cartridges replace the used ones, which are unloaded and are placed in the refrigeration systems at the charging station. The swap solution is ideally used for fresh, frozen, and chilled products for distribution to tertiary segments like hotels, retailers, hospitals, and homes, among others.
जब से हमने टेसोल का ब्लास्ट फ्रीजर और टेसोल का जेल पैड लिए तो हमारा बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम कम हो गए। अगर प्रोडक्ट 0 to 4 है तो उसका डिलीवरी 0 to 4 में होता है, और -18 का प्रोडक्ट है तो उसका डिलीवरी -18 में हम डिलीवरी कर पा रहे हैं।
I think TESSOL's ZenBox technology has been amazing for us. It has really helped us reduce some of our running costs as compared to working with a refrigerated vehicle. And it even helps maintain temperatures for over 10 hours, even in Delhi's, peak summers.
A central charger costing 2 to 3 lakhs or around $3,000 to $5,000 can cater to about 3 or 4 vehicles, thereby providing an overall cost reduction upfront to the customer.
TESSOL aims to commercialize the innovative cooling system based on thermal energy storage in the last mile delivery of processed food to reduce food loss. The FLCTD project is.
So essentially, I wanted to share the video to give you a feel of what the solution and what the technology looks like. So as Mr. Rajesh was also talking about, a lot of movement now to post pandemic. There's been a lot of movement for the urban markets. A lot of new products, a lot of new processed foods have also come up, and the first mile of this movement is very well set. So, for example, if one is using refrigerated vehicles to do primary movement, that's a very standard process of moving goods, and there are technologies and solutions and trucks already available. The challenge that we are trying to solve here, or that we have identified with the growth of e-commerce and the nature of retail in the country, is for the mid mile and the last mile, where small quantities of goods need to be moved between stores, and there may be a small quantity of product that they may actually keep on their shelves. Given that the dark stores and also our kiranas are much smaller in size, so they may actually not keep large quantities of product, and therefore making that distribution in cold chain is what is a major challenge. And it may not even be possible to do it using the conventional technologies, and that's where we wanted to come in. The other important factor I wanted to highlight was that even though a product moves across the cold chain from the farm or from the source, but if the end user or the end consumer is not able to feel the benefit of it, then there's really not much value that he's willing to give. If the tomato has come through a cold chain or without a cold chain, if the end user doesn't feel the freshness of the product because of last mile being done in the same way as a non-cold chain product, then he doesn't want to pay more for it, and therefore there's value destruction for the business or the person who's actually growing it and everybody else in the value chain. That's why I think it's important to have an end-to-end supply chain which is cold, and in the last mile it is important to have solutions work and which are also viable and reliable. So that we already spoke about the growth in the food cold chain. There's been a tremendous growth in the pharma cold chain as well. Post-pandemic, of course, it has come into the vaccines have really brought it in front of all of us. But also, outside the vaccines, there's a very large market, whether you talk about diagnostics or you talk about biologicals, insulin, and many other products which go through the pharma cold chain. Food cold chain with the last mile delivery using Swiggy and Dunzo delivery, Blinkit, all of these people have actually brought it to the end customer, and they are now aware of what the differences with and without cold chain. But all said and done, I think I would echo what Rajeshji said and what Rajeshwari also mentioned. The growth is at least to a 20% plus CAGR. And that's a great news for us because it's going to continue not only for 1 or 2 years, but for the next 5 to 7 years. So given that, I'll come back to the first problem that I highlighted. There are 3 elements: is reliability, viability, and sustainability of the solutions. The current mid and the last mile essentially works either on dry ice or it works on gel packs, which for the reliability of the solution, whenever you send it, it may or may not reach in the right temperature, and therefore it's like a jugaad. Viability, if you want to move into something which is reliable, then it's not viable. So for example, refrigerated trucks are very difficult to operate in these kind of situations. And finally, if you look at the overall cold chain, and if you look at it expanding on a pan-India basis, it's also important to understand what is the kind of carbon footprint that you are building. And therefore, sustainability also is an important element of the overall solution that is being provided. So the way we typically work is that using these phase change materials which store energy in the form of PCM packs or gel packs for sort of simplification, they are frozen in a cold store or in a central freezer. From there, they move into an insulated box. It could be a rotomolded box, it could be a EPS box or an XPS box, or any kind of insulated environment, and then it goes into ambient trucks. And therefore, if you were to carry, let's say, 20% cold, 10% frozen, rest of it in ambient, you can just do it in the same truck without having any impact on the quality of the product. And therefore, it not only makes it viable because you're carrying it in an ambient truck, but also reliable because you're maintaining the temperatures in the range where you would have otherwise used a reefer, and it would perform as well, if not better than it. And at the end, you're using a lot less amount of diesel in order to maintain these temperatures, and therefore it's also sustainable. So if I were to take a very quick example, if I'm a distributor of dairy products, and I have both ghee as well as dahi and milk in my mix, And if I have to carry only 200, 300 kgs of product, then I don't need a complete reefer. I would essentially use a truck which is a non-dedicated fleet. It could be a porter, it could be a link, or any other vehicle that I need for about 4 to 5 hours. I use a combination of boxes and ambient cartons, and therefore I don't need to invest in a refrigerated truck or any kind of sort of a dedicated truck. And therefore, my initial costs are lower. I need to take a truck only for the size of the goods that I'm delivering. Otherwise, if I were to go for a reefer truck, I'll need a minimum Tata Ace or a Bolero, a Super Ace or a Bolero, which is expensive, and it's also more expensive to run them. There is no maintenance cost because there are no moving parts of the solution, and therefore, and also there's no diesel. But at the same time, you are ensuring that the product temperatures are maintained, and you're able to guarantee the end-to-end temperature, whether it is 10 hours, 18 hours, 24 hours. So now we have solutions that can go all the way up to like 2-3 days as well. And so therefore, the whole solution set has really matured and evolved. These are examples of boxes, bags, insulated containers where you can use the same kind of solution. So I would essentially urge everyone in this, who's attending this, to think about this whole last mile delivery solution and think of this in a disruptive way, that you'll be able to get the same quality of product delivered to the retailer or the customer without really spending excess amount of money from your pocket, and without compromising on the quality of the product. So I think that's my set. Thank you so much.